Santa?
Scott Calvin.
After the Santa Claus would pull in $189 worldwide way back in 1994 on a $22 million budget.
Come on, Dad, I want to go too.
Stop it, Charlie. We're not going anywhere.
Never do what I want to
Would you
do.
please be quiet for a minute so I can figure this out?
After the star of the film, Tim Allen would experience both the Santa Claus becoming #1 at the box office and his show Home Improvement being rated the #1 TV series in America the very same week.
Because Santa is watching his saturated fats.
After the success of the first Santa Claus installation would inspire a Santa Claus 2 and 3 to complete the series. Although we all know the first one was the best.
Sweetheart, anything but the tears.
I'm sorry.
After the Santa Claus would be dubbed a Christmas classic and shown on TV channels during the holidays, including AMC, with record ratings. Hey guys, sorry I might look like hell and my voice is hoarse, but this is the last video I'm filming before the Christmas break, so bear with me. Now, Disney's The Santa Claus, it hit theaters in November of 1994, and it became a certified box office hit. Now, Tim Allen, who played the Santa Claus himself, well, he kept up with his acting career, and he even added more holiday flicks to his resume. But what happened to the rest of the cast? I'm sure you all remember little Charlie, who played Tim Allen's son. Well, that guy, he pretty much retired from the world of acting. That is, after the Santa Claus movie, well, he had to go find something else to do. I actually auditioned for that role, true story. And how about Scott's skeptical ex-wife, Laura? Well, she's actually done pretty well for herself as a Canadian actress, and she still lives in her hometown of Toronto. Now, sadly, one of the Santa Claus cast members passed away, but he still put in plenty of acting work after his role in the film. Actually, a couple of the main characters had run-ins with the law, but it wasn't me. And a fun fact for you guys, I was actually in the Santa Claus way back in 1994. I played Gary, this kid.
Mommy, wait up.
Gary, nice.
So I guess I could be included on this list of where are they now, but y'all know where I am. I'm here bringing you videos every day. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Michael McCrutton taking a look back at another Christmas classic just in time for the holidays. Now for this video, I'm actually gonna get some help from my girlfriend Kara, because trust me, she looks a whole lot better doing this than me. Kara, take it away.
Hey guys, it's no doubt that The Santa Claus is one of those 90s Christmas movies that became a holiday classic. Every year around this time, you can see it playing all over cable TV, and now of course we even got all the Santa Claus movies on Disney+. You know what I'll be doing this weekend. Pretty crazy that the first Santa Claus came out way back in '94. I was only 1, so clearly a lot has changed since then.
Santa suit laying on the ground. I fell. Not my fault. Reindeer on the roof.
Thanks for having me back on the channel. We've also done similar videos on other Christmas movies like Elf and Bad Santa, and we'll have links to those at the end of this. But we have a lot to get through, so let's get into this video. The Santa Claus was released on November 11th, 1994 and was directed by John Paskin. John and the star of the film, Tim Allen, actually worked together before on Tim's show Home Improvement, and they'd continue to collab in projects to come. The Santa Claus was followed by 2 more movies, The Santa Claus 2 and The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Even though the OG cast returned for the sequel, neither of these movies had as much success as the first one. Maybe it's because Mr. Paskin wasn't the director. Who knows?
Things can't help me right now, sweetheart.
Hey, come back!
For those of you who have never seen The Santa Claus, Tim Allen plays Scott Calvin, just your average dad who accidentally makes Santa get into an accident when he falls off of his roof on Christmas Eve. When Scott and his son Charlie help out and finish Santa's deliveries for the night, they return to the North Pole and Scott discovers it's his turn to become the new Santa. The Santa Claus hits home for me too because it was actually filmed right here in Canada. Parts of Ontario were used in place of Illinois and the North Pole where the movie was set. The fictional town lakeside from The Santa Claus is actually Oakville, which is a suburb close to here. They even featured reindeer right from the Toronto Zoo. Let's start with Mr. Scott Calvin himself, also known as the Santa Claus, played by Tim Allen. I'm sure you're already familiar with the actor, especially if you're a 90s kid or around that era, and he's still got a pretty active career. Back in '94 when the Santa Claus came out, Tim was on the top of his game. Like we mentioned earlier, the same week the movie hit it big, his TV show Home Improvement was rated the #1 series in America. He played the main character, Tim the Toolman Taylor, also working as an executive producer, and the show ran from '91 to '99. At the time of this video, Tim is 66 years old. He doesn't have Instagram, but he is on Twitter, and he posts quite a bit about his stand-up comedy, which is one thing he's been up to these days. He's touring at the moment and has dates lined up for 2020. Tim is living sober these days, but it wasn't always like that. A few years after the Santa Claus in 1997, he was arrested for a DUI where he was driving pretty intoxicated. Although he managed to get out of jail time, he was on probation for a year and put in rehab for alcohol abuse. Since then, Tim stays away from booze. We all love Tim as Santa, and he returned again for the second and third Santa Claus films, even though they didn't hit quite as well as the original. He's actually starred in a total of 5 holiday films, also doing Christmas with the Cranks in 2004, and the Netflix movie El Camino Christmas in 2017. In 1999, Tim was dubbed a Disney legend for his role as the Santa Claus, and of course, for being the voice of the beloved Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story movies, the most recent of which was for Toy Story 4 this past year. He also got his own star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2004. Aside from multiple movies and TV appearances, Tim's been starring on the show Last Man Standing since 2011. His character on the show is Republican, just like he is in real life. Like I said, the Santa Claus was filmed in Canada, so it makes sense the leading lady was a Canadian actress. Next up is Scott's non-believer ex-wife and Charlie's mom in the film, Laura, played by Wendy Crewson. She may have seemed like the bad guy in the movie for not believing her ex-husband and baby daddy was the new Santa, but looking at it as an adult, she was clearly just a sane one.
You're just denying your inner child.
You're gonna make a great psychiatrist one day, kid.
Anyways, Wendy Crewson is 63 at the time of this recording, and apparently she's still living in Toronto. Looking at her Instagram, she isn't verified and only has 616 followers, but the pictures look legit. And seems like she's been on The Social, which is basically Canada's version of The View for those of you who have no idea.
What was ever wrong with bribing? Nothing. It can still work. It still works. Exactly. What do they want here?
After the Santa Claus, Wendy returned to star in the second and third movies, but you may not have seen her much aside from that. She did appear in other films like What Lies Beneath, Room, and more. Wendy also had plenty of roles on TV shows such as 24, Revenge, and Saving Hope. Not to mention, she sounds like the queen of the Canadian award shows. She won 6 Gemini Awards, which are like Emmys, and 2 Canadian Screen Awards. Aside from all that work stuff, I found out that despite a 21-year marriage to male actor Michael Murphy and 2 children, she came out as gay in 2015. Wendy said that she told her family years prior, and her and Michael divorced in 2009. She said, "I didn't care what anybody else thought. I was fine with coming out to everybody, but to your children, it's just a different thing." Well, that's something I definitely didn't know about her. So what about Laura's man in the movie, Dr. Neil Miller? This role was played by Judge Reinhold, and looking back, I always thought he looked so damn familiar. It's interesting that he didn't have as big of an acting career as I thought. But it would seem that 94 was a big year for Judge. 2016, not so much. But I'll tell you why in just a second. I totally remembered him from being in Seinfeld, where he was the close talker. Yep, that was Judge, the dude who dated Elaine. This was also in 1994, the same year as the Santa Claus, and he was even nominated for an Emmy for that guest character on Seinfeld. Like I said, a big year for Judge. In more recent news though, Judge was arrested in 2016. It wasn't for anything super scandalous, but it did make the news. Apparently, he had a run-in with TSA at the Dallas airport and caused a big fuss about not wanting to be checked by security. Agents wanted to inspect his backpack and pat him down, but he didn't let them and caused a scene. Everything was resolved, but poor Judge was embarrassed since that's probably some of the only tabloid action he's gotten in a while. Aside from that drama, Judge has still been acting here and there, including in the Santa Claus 2 and 3, and other TV and movie roles up until 2017. Moving on, let's see what little Charlie is up to these days. In the Santa Claus, Scott's son Charlie was played by Lloyd, who's now 33 at the time of this recording.
My dad is Santa Claus.
Oh boy. I think what he means is, I'm like Santa Claus. We're both giving, we're both jolly, and we both work very hard one day a year.
Shortly after the first Santa Claus, Eric appeared in Batman and Robin as a young Bruce Wayne in '97, and did some voice work too if you remember those movies The Brave Little Toaster. Then aside from returning for the Santa Claus 2 and 3 and some TV appearances here and there, Eric didn't continue his acting career in Hollywood. These days, he works more behind the scene. In 2015, Eric partnered up with his college roommate and opened LP Studios, a production company where he lives in California, which caters to filmmakers, bands, and YouTube artists. Eric is also on Instagram, and by the looks of it, he's living a pretty chill life in LA with his girlfriend and his dog. Also seems like music is one of his hobbies these days. Another memorable character from the Santa Claus has gotta be Bernard the Elf, which was played by David Krumholtz.
Means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
It's ridiculous. I never put on a suit just a
Try to understand this.
If you loved him, David is actually doing cameo videos, so you can go order one for yourself. David killed it as Bernard the Elf and even returned to star in the Santa Claus 2. Unfortunately, he had to sit out the third one because it conflicted with his schedule for the TV drama Numbers that he was working on. After the Santa Claus, David has been super active in Hollywood. In 1999, he was in 10 Things I Hate About You as Michael, which is such a 90s classic. He's also appeared in a bunch of other movies such as Superbad and played Goldstein in the Harold and Kumar films. David found most of his success on the TV show Numbers, which he acted on from 2005 to 2010, as well as appearances on shows like ER and Mom. David is also active on Instagram, maybe the most out of all the Santa Claus cast, and is 41 at the time of this recording. He's happily married and has 2 kids. Apparently, he's also sober AF. Finally, a character from the Santa Claus who sadly passed away since the movie is Mr. Whittle, Scott the Santa Claus's boss. This was played by the memorable actor Peter Boyle, who I knew best as Frank Barone on the show Everybody Loves Raymond. Peter Boyle starred on Everybody Loves Raymond from 1996 to 2005 as Ray's father, who might have just been my fave character. He was nominated for multiple awards for this role. Peter also won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series just a year after the Santa Claus in '95 for a character he played in an episode of The X-Files. Although he sadly passed away in 2006, Peter found plenty of success since the first Santa Claus, including roles in movies such as Monsters Ball, returning for the other Santa Claus movies, and his TV gigs.
Alright guys, we're wrapping up this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Michael McCrudden and I'm going to get some much needed rest because we've been working our butt off. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Let us know who's next in the comments down below. Have a very Merry Christmas and I'll see you guys in another video.